bocca non è stracca.
The mouth is not tired if it does not taste like cow. This saying here in its Lombard version, though with 1,000 regional variations, is undoubtedly one of the most widespread proverbs in the country. Its meaning is quite simple to guess. You can't say you've really finished a meal if you don't treat yourself to a piece of cheese first. But in Italy, when you talk of cheese, you are referring to a list of almost 500 products that differ in shape, size, production, technology, taste, origin, and so on. Among the many types, one of the best known and most appreciated is certainly Stracchino, which nowadays refers to a creamy and delicate cheese, slightly acidic, mostly of industrial origin, and which does not keep for more than a few days. Traditionally, this term described cheeses produced with very little milk that could be obtained from tired cows, Straccio in Lombard dialect, following the long migration between the plains and the mountains undertaken seasonally to allow livestock to live in the best possible conditions, and that was and is still known today as transhumance. One of the areas where Stracchino reaches its highest peaks are the Taleggio, Imagna, Brembana, and Seriana valleys north of the city of Bergamo. Since time immemorial, a tasty and soft Stracchino has been produced, slightly spicy and savory, delicious and fatty, which, taking its name from one of the valleys in which it is prepared, is known as Taleggio in its industrial version, and as old-fashioned Stracchino from the Orobiche valleys in its artisanal form, protected by the Slow Food Presidium. One of the main characteristics of this cheese is the consistency of the curd, which is initially soft and, after a few days of maturation, melts in your mouth and is perfect for spreading on slices of toasted bread or, as is customary in Bergamo homes, on a warm slice of polenta, what was for centuries one of the classic dishes of these areas, as recounted poetically by master Italian filmmaker and Bergamo native Ermanno Olmi. The secret to obtain its soft and almost melting structure is in the way in which the curd is cut and manipulated. Wait, maybe it is good that I explain what curd is. So, part of the magic of cheese lies in the fact that the myriad products described as such are prepared with only three ingredients: milk, salt, and lastly rennet, a compound normally of animal but also vegetable origin that, added to hot milk, has the power to make it coagulate. Without wishing to go into too much detail, we can say that depending on the origin of the rennet, the size in which the curd or coagulated milk is cut, and how much it is kept moist or let dry, very different cheeses are obtained. Here, for the old-fashioned stracchino from the Orobic valleys, the curd obtained from just milked, still hot, unpasteurized cow's milk is broken into pieces as big as walnuts, which are then placed in a square and shallow form and pressed very gently so that the curd does not dry out too much. The shape thus obtained is left to mature, in technical jargon it is said to stew, in a very humid and warm environment for a day and a half. Then it is salted and finally seasoned for at least 20 days. During this period, the crust becomes covered with a grayish mold with very characteristic orange streaks. In Bergamo in general, and in the beautiful upper part of the city in particular, which is surrounded by 16th century walls and home to some of the most important monuments of the city, it is easy to come across rich tasting plates of local cheese, of which Stracchino is, without a doubt, king. However, we have said that to taste this cheese in the most traditional way, we must accompany it with polenta. So let's not waste any more time and instead get straight to work. For the polenta, you must first have a large and special pot, narrower at the base and wider at the top, often made of copper and known as a paiolo or cauldron, along with a wooden ladle, which is necessary for first adding the flour and then continuously agitating the polenta so that it does not burn. To start, heat the water in the cauldron. You will need 1 liter for 300 grams of corn flour. Traditionally, this preparation was cooked directly on the fire, so don't worry. Keep your flame or induction plate on high. When the water boils, salt it lightly and then, stirring, pour in the flour. Stir with the ladle to form a central vortex which gradually disappears as the flour is incorporated. The mixture should be increasingly uniform and creamy with an intense yellow color. Now, let it cook for about 10 minutes. Then resume stirring your polenta and continue like this for at least an hour. Once that time is up, remove the pot from the heat, let it rest for a few minutes, and then turn the polenta over onto a round cutting board. Cut a slice when the polenta is still hot. Place a nice piece of cheese on it and enjoy your meal. Oh, I almost forgot. The cooked polenta tends to stick to the sides of the cauldron. Immerse it in hot water and then, with the help of a spoon, remove this crunchy and charred part. You won't regret it.